interesting because we can't see the future, what the Lord's going to do with things, but He's been encouraging me to just take it one step at a time, kind of like a theme of my life.
Yeah.
And don't take it in leaps and bounds and try to figure everything out. Just take it one step at a time.
Oh, that's good. And the Lord's always faithful to be with you at each step. Yeah, because it's His life and He's faithful to His life in you.
Yes.
Yes, yeah. Welcome to this week's episode of the His Hill Podcast. My name is Kelly Doherty, and I'm your host. Today we have with us a young lady that I have known since she was born. She grew up on staff at His Hill. Her parents are Brian and Regina Stamness. Brian's been on the podcast, and they were on staff there for, 20 years. And then they've since transitioned to a different position, different job now. And Anna, whom we've watched grow, is now a part of our family business, and we get to see her on a regular basis, and thought, it would be really neat for the alumni to hear from Anna, those who watched her grow up all those years, and those who attended Bible school with her at Timberline would like to hear how she's doing now. And so anyway, we have with us today Anna Stamness. Hi, Anna. How are you?
Hello. Great.
And Anna, thanks for doing this. I know that you were very willing to do it, but you're nervous, like just about everybody is that comes onto the podcast. No need to be, because it's just a conversation. Anna, how old are you now?
I'm 21.
21 years old. So what year were you born?
2001.
2001. And you have, I've already mentioned that Brian and Regina are your parents. They were on staff at His Hill for 20 years. You have a brother, Josh.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes, he's 19.
19, so he's your younger brother. And so Anna, let's just talk a little bit about those years growing up at His Hill. You were really, for how many years were you at His Hill before moving?
So I lived there until 2019.
Okay.
So I would have been, I think I was 17 when we left.
Wow.
Yeah, so most of my life was at the Hill.
Right.
And I knew it as my home.
Yeah, so 17 years, and then, a big change for you then, moving away from His Hill. Okay, well, during those years, Anna, I use you as an illustration in one of the lessons that I teach, and it has to do with being fixed on Jesus, which is the theme of our podcast. But when you were a little girl, a very little girl, we were taking a group picture with the student body and staff. We were out in front of the fish house, and you had tripped and fallen over some of the roots of the trees that are out there by the building. And, you were embarrassed because the whole group was there, and plus it hurt for you to fall, so you started crying, and you were running to look for your mom. And I remember all the students leaning over trying to pick you up, all the girls going, "Oh, Anna," and you kept pushing hands away and running in and out of people. And these are all people that you normally would run to and play with, but you were working your way through all of them looking for your mom. And as soon as you found your mom, she picked you up and you just kind of relaxed your head. You collapsed on her is what you did. And I thought that's a great illustration of being fixed. There's all these other temptations, all these other things calling out to you and wanting to comfort you, but you go straight to your mother. And I've used that for years. Anna, tell us, and growing up at His Hill, Christians all around you all the time. How old were you when you became a believer?
How old was I? I think I was probably 6.
Okay.
5 or 6.
Okay.
I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it was just really simple. I don't have a lot of memories about it, but just that I had seen through my parents just an example of Christ's love, and just through the people at the Hill. And it just was the next thing that made the most sense, and it was the thing that gave me a lot of peace.
Okay.
And just like, it was like a childlike faith, really, kind of just wanting to be taken care of by Jesus and allowing him to be my savior, and
Okay. And so did you just go to your parents and talk to them about this, or did they come to you? Or
I went to them.
Okay. All right. So what was it like for you, being so now you're this young believer and you're growing up on this campus that's just full of Christians coming from all over the world. What was it like growing up at His Hill? Was it beneficial for your faith?
Yes. Yeah, very. Just hearing people's testimonies and stories throughout my life, and being able to see their timelines and how the Lord was working either before they became a believer, during, or after that immediate time of becoming a believer. And just being able to see like the faithfulness of the Lord through their life, it was really encouraging for me. And it's actually been cool now since I'm older, kind of being able to see like the faithfulness of the Lord now throughout my life and my past like timeline. And it's funny, like when you get older, you look back and you're like, oh yeah, I can see the Lord has worked in these different areas.
Okay.
So it's been neat. Like now I've been a student, and then I kind of just relived what I saw as a child.
Okay. Yeah. Now it was interesting because there were a lot of staff kids who were on the hill while you were there, but most of them were quite a bit older than you. So it would have been my daughters there. There was 10 staff kids that were all about the same age, that were older than you. And then there were a few that were younger than you. So what was that like? Did you ever feel like you were, didn't quite fit in with that? Or did you ever feel alone, or did they do a good job of trying to bring you in? What was it like?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because to go off a little tangent, it's the same in my family. I'm the only girl on both sides of the family, and I'm the oldest. So it kind of was something I was already used to, but it wasn't like I was alone at all. I was always with students, and then with the older staff kids. They would take care of me and play with me, and then I would tag along with Bo and Joshy sometimes.
Okay.
Yes.
So would you say it was a good childhood growing up there?
Yes, and kids my age, my mom is a really good coordinator, and she is responsible for most of my friends.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, I have her to thank for people my age as a child.
Okay. Okay. So you had a lot of friends outside of His Hill that were your age. Okay, good. What were just thinking about those years? You said, looking back, now that the Lord's brought you to a point where you can start to do that, look back. What were some of the things that you see that were real positive for you? What are some good memories you have from growing up at His Hill?
Well, I love always the Thanksgiving conference times. I have a lot of good memories of just the behind the scenes work of it as well.
Because your mom was real involved in getting the place decorated for it. Yeah. Right.
So we would always have fun doing that. And I just remember loving the anticipation of the new students coming, and then just reflecting back with the students before they left, what the Lord has done. And then home fellowships were always super fun.
Yeah, home fellowships where we have the students into our homes about every other week. Yeah.
Yes, and just share life with them, and play games and have food.
Yeah, and I should say that's every other week where we know we're having a planned time, but they were always students are always in staff homes. Throughout the week, there's lots of things that go on. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so with I'm just remembering now. You growing up, you were in our house every week because of piano lessons. Yeah, you took piano lessons from Arlene for years. Yeah. What was that like?
I remember it was always really fun. We would get stickers for our pages.
Yeah.
And we performed in the Christmas, at the church, the Christmas performance. And I remember y'all's dogs were super fun to play with, and they were really chill.
Yeah, the collies. Yeah, we had a couple of collies. Yeah, now we have a little Westie, and it's the same thing. Anna's.
Yes, I love Winston.
Yeah, Anna and Winston are best friends. She's actually going to take care of Winston when we go to Canada pretty soon here. Anna, now after being at the Hill for so many years, your parents decided, not on their own, it was the prompting of the Lord, that it was time to leave. What was that like for you to have to go?
Well, it was like a bit of a mix, but I never remember being like stressed or scared about it, actually. It was, I knew that a change was coming and that it would be different, but I never felt stressed because my parents never put any stress on me during that time, which was really encouraging. And I just remember that it was a peaceful transition and that the Lord provided a lot through it. And it's cool, like through my life, the Lord has been really gracious to give me change in the form of steps and like small steps. So that change of transitioning, it was a one step at a time kind of thing. And I've been really encouraged because I function very well when it's just one step at a time.
Okay.
So, and even with other areas, like I was homeschooled, then I went to part-time, and then I went to high school full-time. Just like things like that where the Lord has provided in steps has been encouraging.
Okay. Yeah. You with moving, how old were you? You were 17 when you moved.
I think so.
Yeah. So you had a couple of years of high school left, and then you were you ended up going to Bible school.
Right.
Yeah. Well, tell us the process of that and deciding where to go and how that all came to be.
Oh, yes. Okay, so I graduated high school in May of 2020. And by this time we were renting in San Antonio. And when I graduated, I believe a few months after, I got a job at H-E-B. And I was just cashiering away.
Yeah, that's a grocery store here in Texas.
Oh, right. So I was doing that, but I had planned to go to Bodenseehof in Germany. That was the hope. And then because of COVID, it was tricky, and it didn't end up working out. But it was really neat because through that time of working at H-E-B, the Lord really stretched me and grew me in ways that I don't know if I would have realized as soon as I did. So that time was beneficial, but I ended up getting really burnt out. And then I decided to see one day to the next, I was talking to my mom, and I was like, maybe I can go to Bible school somewhere else. And she was like, you should call Sarah and Dan. I don't know if I called them, but I think somehow I contacted them and saw like if they had any openings in their second semester, which would be January through May of 2021.
And that's Dan and Sarah from Timberline.
Yes, from Timberline Lodge in Fraser, Colorado. I almost said freezer, but I love it. So I went there instead, and that was actually a big God thing because it was perfect for what I needed.
Well, what were some of the things while you were working at the grocery store? What were some of the things the Lord was stretching you with? Well,
just the different friendships that I made there. There were some friends who were of a different belief than me, and just being able to minister to them. It was a stretching time, but sometimes really discouraging, really disheartening, but other times just knowing, when to leave it in the Lord's hands, and knowing that He is more than capable of bringing people to Himself. He doesn't need my help. So just being, He was just encouraging me to be faithful in ministering to them and encouraging them toward Him and speaking to them directly about Him.
Yeah.
But to also know, he's the one who softens hearts. So that was a big part of it.
That must have been an interesting time for you because you had grown up at his hill, so always around believers there, and then you went to a Christian high school. Yeah, so you were around a lot of believers there. Then now you're working in a secular position, and there would be people that would be different than what you'd grown up with. But it's interesting the way you're saying is that because of your relationship with the Lord, there was a way for you to engage with them. So having grown up with believers and going to school with believers did not hinder you from being able to function in the world. And I think that's a neat thing because so often some of the complaints about always being sheltered is a negative thing, but no, it all depends on what that sheltered means.
Right.
If it means that you're being trained in Christ, you're being trained in what is true, then you're being given the tools you need to function outside of that familiar surrounding that you've been in. And I'm not saying that there is a way that people should be raised and a way that people should be educated, except it should be with the truth of Christ. But as far as, not every child has to grow up at a Bible school, and not every child has to go to a private, a Christian high school. But I think parents should be training their children, believers should be training their children in whatever situation they're in what is true with Christ. And in doing so, you're giving the child the tools needed to function in life. And I think I've seen that, with you. You're giving testimony of it at work. But you work for us now, and we see the character. We see, we're very encouraged with what the Lord's doing in your life. So now with going to Timberline, you were kind of at a time where you were a little worn out, and so what did the Lord do with you there?
Well, I kind of think He just kind of slowed me down a little bit. And in a fun way, though, because I almost used it almost as a distraction from like working, and I was also doing online school at the time. So
you were going online school and Timberline?
No, I did online school while I was working.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
At the grocery store. No, you're good. So it was a good distraction, because I want to use the word distraction in a positive sense.
Okay.
But it was more like a refocus, kind of bringing me back to a place of encouragement, personal encouragement, and kind of like the Lord was filling up my cup again. And of course, He's always, filling us with truth if we just listen. But I had kind of been discouraged for a lot of the time.
Okay.
So it was kind of a refilling time.
Okay. So that's your time at Timberline. Yeah. Now you were there for how long?
I was there from January till May of 2021. Went home over the summer and worked at the same job again. And then in August of 2021, I got to go back as a volunteer.
Okay. All right. So, and you were there as a volunteer for how long?
Till May of 2022.
Okay. All right. So you spent over a year at Timberline. That's neat.
Yes.
What was just tell us about your time at Timberline. Tell us about Timberline. What was life like there? How was it different from what you had grown up, doing?
Yeah, it's an adventure. It's so much fun.
Okay.
For me, the mountain air was it's kind of funny because it was both a spiritually and physically healing place for me. Like the mountain air, even though it can get dry and I needed some Adele stuff to combat it, it was really refreshing. And then the people who work there are lovely. And it's fun to stay in contact with them. And let's see here. They also have a lot of adventure programs and outdoor programs, which I was stretched in because I'm not used to the different weather and then the different adventure stuff. We have these things called OSIF, which is every other Monday, outdoor, I think it's, oh my goodness, why did I forget? Outdoor education for spiritual formation.
Okay.
So there's a time of adventure, but it always has a purpose behind it and a lesson.
Okay.
Which is really encouraging, and just to see the Lord's creation and the purpose behind it, and then how we interact with it, and ultimately how it brings him glory, and how we can enjoy being outside, were concepts that were really bold and like kind of just encouraging for me to see.
Sure. Yeah. Would you say some of them were scary?
There were, it's funny because there's scary things, but they're always safe, which is so funny to me because, for example, one of our trips, we go to Moab, Utah for a week. So actually it was 8 days, I think. And during this time, we did different things like rock climbing, or rappelling, I should say, which to me, that's a scary thing. But, you know, the ropes are safe. And it's kind of like at His Hill when the campers or the students get to go on the tower. And there's no danger, really, because of those ropes. And it's kind of that picture of trusting and leaning into the Lord's safety. And so there was things like that where it was stretching and safe. And then there was also things like learning how to drive a 15-passenger van in the snow.
Yeah, so, that's different for somebody that grew up in Texas.
Yes. But I was also, I was helped a lot with, they didn't just send me on the road and tell me to figure it out. Right. So it was just growing.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. You know, we do some of that with our second year program at His Hill. You know, some more of the outdoor adventure type things, and it's always for the purpose of a practical teaching time. You know, to just kind of to help people think through, what does it mean for me to trust? What does it mean for me to be dependent? And then to point out how that's our part in the relationship with Christ, to trust Him, to be dependent upon Him. What does that mean? Well, I can't look to myself for this. I can't because I can't rappel without the rope. And people can get caught up. Look what I did. No, look what the rope enabled you to do, and to help you think through those kind of things. So that's really neat. And they do a lot of that all year long at Timberline, right?
Right.
Yeah. Did you get into the snowboarding and skiing?
Yes. So funny thing is, the first time I was there, I was skiing. I'm terrible at skiing. I'm also not so great at snowboarding, but it was a more natural thing for me.
Okay.
So I like to say that I could keep up with Josh when he would come visit when I was on a snowboard, but if I was on skis, it would be a disaster. So, yes, I'm happy that I transitioned over to snowboarding. Okay.
I actually learned to ski at Winter Park.
Oh, yes. I think I remember.
Yeah, I was a young fella, and then actually my parents used to take us up there every Christmas. And so that's where we learned to ski. And then it was probably 30 years later, I decided I was going to snowboard. And I actually was taught how to snowboard down to the same spot.
Oh, wow.
I went to the same school and was taught how to snowboard. And something that, just a quick story. something funny about that was that I told some of the staff here and students here that I was going to Timberline this next week to teach, but I was going to go a little early and do some snowboarding. They said, "Have you ever done that before?" "No, I haven't." "Oh, well, you really maybe should just ski because
No,
that's, you know,
don't
it takes you're not going to be able to get it that quick. And it made me mad.
Oh.
And so I was determined I was going to do it. And so I got there, I got paid for the lessons, and I started to catch on right away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much, I was in a ski class with a bunch of 18-year-olds,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm in my 40s at this time. And so the instructor even called me out a couple of times, you know, "Hey, Kelly, you know what you're doing, so go ahead and go do this while I teach these."
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a little cocky with it. And when it was over with, he had us up on the mountain. And he said, "Okay, guys, you know enough to not kill yourselves. So just, you know, stay here. Don't get on. Just stay on this one slope. And then if you want to take more lessons, you can pay for more this afternoon." So I'm just snowboarding, having a great time. I even pulled over to the side, sat down, called Arlene, you know, bragging about how easy this is. And then minutes later, I caught an edge, threw me face down onto my chest.
Ow.
I had a napkin rolled up in my chest pocket.
Oh.
And the jacket had been washed several times, so the napkin now was hard as a rock. And I didn't know it was in there, and it threw me straight down on that napkin.
Ow.
And I broke my rib.
Oh my goodness. Wait.
With a napkin.
Oh no.
So I had to spend the rest of the week just, you know, every time I sneezed, it hurt. Every time I laid down on the floor in class for an illustration, I couldn't get up. And the students just sat there and laughed at me trying to get up. It was a painful week, but it just made me think of that. Anyway, you talking about snowboarding and learning how, but I had a lot of fun till that happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Okay, so how about, what was it like for you to be on staff? Because that was a quick transition for you. Be from student to staff, and you know, being as young as you were and being on staff. How did you know, what did the Lord do with you during that time?
Yeah, the transition to being on staff was familiar in the sense that I had been a staff kid before, and I love being behind the scenes and doing behind the scenes things.
Mm-hmm.
So I was volunteer. Oh wow, I can't speak. I was a volunteer in housekeeping, and then I also helped with outreach. But the transition was just kind of something that I had been wrestling with throughout the summer.
Mm-hmm.
After my after my Bible school
Yeah.
semester.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from that semester of Bible school back to the summer, and that summer I was really wrestling with, you know, should I go back to Timberline? But I had already given my yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that verse in Matthew that came to mind was Matthew 5:37, and let your yes be yes and your no, no.
Yeah.
And I was constantly thinking about it, and that verse just kept coming to mind, and I would talk about it with my dad, and I'd be like, and we would just ruminate over this verse, like, yeah, you already said yes, and this is a good thing, and let your yes be yes,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So in that sense, that was how I was feeling about the transition, but it was a really encouraging time, and starting in it was really encouraging. I'm rambling a little bit.
That's okay. No, that's fine.
So the question was, what was it like to transition?
Yeah.
Yes. So, but being as young as I was, it was interesting because there were situations where I would need to be in charge of things, like, or, you know, in charge of my outreach van. But it was encouraging because I never felt like I had to boss anyone around, and because that's like the worst thing for me. Like, I don't want to boss anyone around. As long as everyone's peacefully getting along, I am happy. So it and it was really encouraging because the students in my outreach knew that about me, because they knew, we get a sense of people, and
Sure.
they know they didn't want to put me through any grief, and they were actually like the biggest help and did so much more than I could have ever done on my own, and helped me tremendously, and without them I couldn't have done any of that outreach the same. So in that sense it was just an encouraging thing to have the students just come alongside as friends and really encourage me in that, because it can be tricky, when you're young, and
Sure.
you don't want to make anyone feel like you're trying to squash them with your power,
Right.
that you really don't have, because you're the same age.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can remember that, early years being on staff as a teacher, teaching people that were older than me was something that was a little tricky. It was something that you had to, you had to go to the Lord with, and Lord, I need your wisdom for this. But He always, he always provides. James says that if you lack wisdom, ask of God, who gives generously and without reproach. That He give. That means it's no admixture of evil. There's no trickery in there. He gives generously of Himself. He wants to do that. He designed us for Him to do that. To live through us. And so when we yield to Him, ask Him for His wisdom, James says, hey, God will give this. I think it's interesting, that you say that the Lord just worked it in the hearts of these people, and then you became a team. Though you were the leader, you weren't the dictator.
Yes.
You were leading.
Yeah.
And so the Lord was faithful with that. That's neat. So was it a hard decision then to leave Timberline?
It was kind of a mix of both things, because the same with leaving His Hill, the mixed emotions about it. I knew change was coming, but it wasn't super stressful. And with leaving the Hill, of course, I missed it and was sad, but I wasn't devastated. And then the same thing with Timberline. And for me, really, it's more just the people that I don't get to see every day anymore.
Yeah.
That's difficult, but the time of leaving was something I felt like the Lord was guiding me to, and I didn't really know what was coming next. I still had the job at HEB at the grocery store, so I went back to that, and just was dialoguing with my parents about what the next steps could be, and really trying to, I think the key was that I tried not to take it in too many steps while I was at Timberline, so I wanted to be really focused on my time there. Didn't always do a great job of being present and focused because I would get worried about the future, but then the Lord would bring me back into, you're here. You're literally physically present in this place, so make the most of the time. So that was something that He was really pressing on me, and it was a time of really needing to trust Him for the aftermath, because I didn't really know what was coming.
That's interesting. I think because Jesus talked about that, how we can be so worried and consumed with tomorrow, but He says, no, wait a minute. I know you need these things. I know better than you than these things, that what's coming.
Yeah.
And so His encouragement was what? To seek first His kingdom, His righteousness, to seek Him. And all these things will be added unto you. And I think so often, I know that can be the same struggle that I've had, is that I can be so captivated with what needs to happen tomorrow or next year that I miss out on what's happening right now with the Lord. And when I look back, I often find that the Lord was using those times in preparation for what was coming.
Yes.
And that's I think that's a common thing for a lot of us, and we if we're not careful, we can miss out on that. And that's why another reason why we're on our podcast, we're constantly encouraging and reminding believers to be fixed on Jesus. Fix your eyes on Jesus, not your circumstances. Fix your eyes on Jesus right now. Be with him now. And be with him in also with regards to what decisions you have to make in the future. Be with him now with that.
Yes.
And, you always find that he's faithful. He's always faithful to his life in you. And he doesn't leave you, stranded. He's never leaves. He never forsakes. And so that's neat how there's kind of a theme going here with what you're talking about, and how the Lord just takes you a step at a time. And what a great lesson to learn, to just be in the moment with him. So you came home, and you came home and immediately went back to work.
Yes.
Yep. And how long have you been back now?
So I came back in May, so it's been, let's see, is it over, May, June, July, August. Wow, it's been like 8 or 9 months now.
Okay, yeah.
Almost 9.
You don't know this, but I've mentioned it earlier that, now you're working for us with the family business. You mentioned Adele before, and people maybe didn't know what you're talking about, but that's Adele Natural Cosmetics. That's where you are. And before hiring you, even though we've known you since you were born, we just thought, you were one of our first hires. So we kind of felt like, we need to have a good precedent here. Let's not just hire somebody, but let's well, obviously we've been praying about it, but let me check into some things. So I told the rest of the family, let me check, just see how did her work experience go at Timberline. So I called Timberline up, and
really?
And they were very positive, and even told me that they were favorable to having you back.
Oh yeah.
So,
that's so sweet.
so I'm glad we got ahead of them, that we got to you before them. So anyway, so you came back, and you were, what was transition like for you now? You're going back, you're leaving Timberline and a full-time ministry, and you're going back now back home, you're going back to a job, what secular work. What was that like for you?
Yes, so coming back home, the first few weeks, I think we just hung out and did fun family things and vacational stuff. And it's fun. My family, we're really close, so we get along really well. So it was encouraging to be back and see them.
Yeah.
And the harder part was, going back to work and then sorting through school plans, because I had been doing online school going towards becoming a dental hygienist, but I never felt a good peace about going in person, not because of any COVID things, but just because of just not wanting to accrue any debt. And also just sorting through, thinking in my mind, like, is this actually a degree I want? You know, is this actually something I'd like to do? So the Lord just put hold on that, really in my heart, of just not feeling peace about moving forward in it. And I was just kind of sorting through college ideas, and the Lord just, again, was just teaching me patience and teaching me to stay calm, you know.
And just stay with him.
Just stay with him. And it was encouraging because he eventually led me to a program through a different university, to a different pathway. And it's something I can do fully online. And then I just had plans to keep working and doing school. And then something I really didn't expect to happen, which was being able to work for y'all. And it was...
Let's talk about that experience, how that came to be, because that was really interesting. We were looking to make a couple of hires because we needed some extra hands. And we had made one hire, and we were thinking, okay, we still need one more. And we had some ideas of who to hire, but all these ideas were people that we needed someone that could be full-time and somebody that could be a long-term full-time, not just, seasonal type thing. And so Arlene and Regina, your mom, went out to eat for lunch. They met for lunch one day, and in their conversation, something came up. What was that?
Yes, it was so funny because as my mom was leaving, I knew she was meeting Miss Arlene, so I was like, tell her hi, and then kind of just thinking like, oh, I wonder if they have any needs anymore for positions, because I remember seeing something or hearing something, and then I didn't really think much of it, and I thought, oh, they don't need anybody, because I knew y'all hired someone, and then I thought, well, I'll just see, and then I kind of didn't think about it much. I did pray about it and was encouraged by the potential, but one of those things I just left in the Lord's hands again. And then she was very excited. And then I think what happened was she was going to think about it and bring it up to y'all. And then, eventually.
Well, she did at lunch with Arlene. And Arlene came home and told us, and we all thought, Anna.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like I said before, we had known you since you were a baby, but we had been gone in Louisiana for 6 years and had moved back, and then you were gone, and then so we hadn't really been around you. So that's when I had called Timberline just to see how things had gone for you there. And of course, I had met you there because I taught there while you were there, but really we just hadn't been around each other that much for about 6 years, and so. But we were all thinking, wow, that would be a really good thing. And, and the Lord just worked it out. And so that was really neat the way that has come about. What's it been like? This is a weird question now, I know, because here's your boss asking you, but I'm also the host of the podcast. What's it been like for you now to be in this new job? What's the Lord done with that?
Yeah, it's just been like an overall just... It's kind of dramatic, but a life improvement. So an everyday improvement in just, in my emotional state, and then just like the environment that I get to work in is so encouraging, and just to have conversations daily about the Lord and just what He's doing, and then being able to work with friends that I've known for my whole life. That there's just nothing like it it's like working at a Bible school again with that community feel. And it's taken me from, a previous cycle of getting burnt out and then recharging to not being stressed anymore. Like just that encouragement from the Lord through being able to work for you guys has been, I think I'm circling around, but it's encouraging for sure.
As you're saying that, thoughts came to my mind, like, it's really interesting what the Lord has done. Everybody that works with the business is a torchbearer. Alumni, every one of us, and it has been encouraging. The conversations that we have every day, the way we can share things and talk about things the way we do. It is encouraging. But I think what the Lord has also done is showed us all that just because it's a business doesn't mean it's not a ministry. And the way the Lord has opened up the avenues of ministry through our business has been really just staggering, and encouraging to see. Like you said, it's like being at a Bible school, where I don't think that's supposed to be unique to our business. I think as believers, like you said even earlier, working in a grocery store, that there was opportunity there for ministry. To understand that, there's something that my brother taught me with his business is that his business was his ministry, and we've come to see the same thing, that it brings so much more to going to work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, I appreciate, your presence and your activity in that. That's been, very much, you've been in favor of what's gone on, and I know you're praying about it, and it's been, it has been neat. You have friends that that don't like what they hear about your work.
Oh, too much fun. I have too much fun.
Yeah, Anna has at least one good friend that just can't stand how Anna comes home and talks about how much she's enjoying her job.
It's because my dear friend, I get her hooked on all the makeup stuff and all the fun things that we make. And she tells me, "Stop telling me. I need to stop buying things." Yeah, we have fun.
Well, that's good. So yeah, it's again, it's been really neat, Anna, watching you grow up. We knew you as a little baby. We knew you right away. You were newborn, and to watch you grow up, to watch your heart, to see just how the Lord has grown you and continues to do so. And we're given a first row seat. Matter of fact, talking about friendships, Winston, our little Westie, has just come into the room. He could hear Anna's voice, and so now if you hear jingling, that's his collar jingling around. He goes straight to her, not to me. And here he is. He's with me now. So anyway, Anna, we are very encouraged with what the Lord's done in your heart. That in those times where it's kind of been hard for you, where you've struggled, it's been kind of a drought, you've been burned out, you have found that your refuge is Jesus, and your testimony being that he's always been faithful. And we look forward to seeing how, the Lord continues to grow you and where he takes you from here. While you're working for us, you're also going to school.
Yes.
Yeah. What are you, and tell us a little bit about that.
Right. So I do school fully online. So I do them in 8-week increments. It's through Liberty University. And that's been just like a lesson of balancing time and just like seeing where I need to put effort in. And so that's been stretching as well, because there's times where I'm thinking, every college student is like, am I really doing the right thing? Am I? And so, but it's interesting that the Lord has, I feel like, worked through that to make it really compatible with my current, lifestyle. And that's really encouraging, because I didn't want to go in person. So to have that opportunity has been really neat. And it's not always easy, for sure. But I think to just keep pressing through. And also, it really helps to have an encouraging job, because when I was, doing the other job, I never saw anything come out of it, really, except for, good conversations, but still, like, in the midst of difficult situations. But here, I get to see, physical products being made, and then things going out, and people hearing about the Lord through the business card and the greeting cards. And so just seeing that physical evidence of the Lord's work, both through the job that I'm in now, which is here at Adele, and through just the work that he's done through my heart for trying to be diligent. Like, that's something I've had to pray about to him, like, help me be diligent, help me be disciplined. So those two things together have been really, encouraging.
Okay.
To see what he's going to do with it. And it's really interesting, because we can't see the future, what the Lord's going to do with things. But he's been encouraging me to just take it one step at a time, kind of like a theme in my life. Yeah. And don't take it in leaps and bounds and try to figure everything out. Just take it one step at a time. Oh, that's good. And the Lord's always faithful to be with you at each step. Yeah, because it's his life, and he's faithful to his life in you. Yes. Yes, yeah. Well, Anna, thank you very much for this time. Thank you for being open, for telling us that, it's not always easy, but that the Lord's always faithful. And just stressing, again, the importance it is to be with him right now in this step, and let him deal with what the next step is, but go with him with that step. Well, thank you, Anna. I appreciate you spending this time with us. Thank you. I want to thank Anna for giving us her time to be with us today. We allowed the employees to go home a little early today, but she was
gracious and willing to just stay a little longer to record the podcast. So I want to thank her for that. And also, for those of you who are alumni or you know Charlie McCall, for a while I've been wanting to let you know about this and just kind of keep forgetting. But if you would be interested, you can hear Charlie preach every Sunday at Burney Bible Church. That's BOERNE, BurneyBibleChurch.org. And it's live streamed on the website, also Facebook and YouTube if you're interested in doing that. Just preached this last Sunday, and he gave us a really encouraging Christmas message that I think that you would really appreciate listening to. So I encourage you to do so. Well, our students are on break, but they're coming back January the 4th. So we're asking that you be praying for them, that their last week or so at home be profitable, that their travel would go well and safe, and that their hearts would be ready for what the Lord has in store for them this semester. And also ask the same for the staff, as they're scattered all over the place right now, spending the holiday season, Christmas and New Year's, with family in different parts of the world. Ask that they would have the Lord's favor in traveling back, and also we ask that you be praying for that, as well as our hearts being ready too for what the Lord has for the upcoming semester. Well, as always, we want to end the podcast with the same reminder, and we don't want to do it just flippantly, just out of rote, but really from the heart. We want to encourage you to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. Thanks for listening.